So eventually I did go to college. I went to the San Francisco State University, where I did study some film, but I dropped out. And I found myself with some pretty well-paying jobs, and I was the lead singer of a rock and roll band, and I had plenty of time to go to the movies. Which brings me to my next subject, famous people. I'm going to talk about 3 famous people. 2 of them I have met, 1 of them I've never met. The one I've never met is a guy named Nicolas Cage. Have you heard of Nicolas Cage? Nicolas Cage is great. He's made some great movies. He made Con Air. He was in Con Air. He was in Raising Arizona. He was in Valley Girl. I love Nicolas Cage. Well, the movie of his that had the most profound and disturbing effect on me was a movie called Leaving Las Vegas. But it wasn't the movie that affected me. What affected me was the fact that when I saw that movie, I fell in love with Nicolas Cage as a friend. And I thought to myself, if given the opportunity to hang out with Nicolas Cage, the 2 of us would probably have a really good time. But my brain told me, and my brain was right, that if ever we ran into Nicolas Cage on the streets of San Francisco, which is where I believe he lives, he wouldn't give us the time of day. Well, this bothered me a lot. And it bothered me so much that the night after I saw Leaving Las Vegas, I tossed and turned so violently all night long. I didn't sleep at all, and in the morning I fell out of my bed. I hit my head on my table, which is right next to my bed, and I started rolling around on the floor, and I was crying. I was crying partly because my head hurt, but mostly because I wasn't hanging out with Nicolas Cage. And I said to my brain, I said, what are you thinking? This is the stupidest thing we've ever obsessed over. This is dumb. We have to do something about this. What are we going to do? Let's do something. And my brain came up with an idea, and it was a good idea. My brain said, let's get out of town. And I thought, this is a good idea. I need to get out of town. I needed to get out of Davis. I needed to get away from Davis because I was alone in Davis, and I started feeling so lonely. I was like God's lonely man. I had to get away from Davis. Davis, California. I had to get away from this world of self-important politics, crappy musical theater, and filthy rich liberals who only call themselves liberals, not because of their ideals, but because they think it's a hip thing to do. Davis was starting to feel to me to be like a big metaphor for masturbation, because people in Davis don't do things to better the world. People in Davis do things to make themselves feel good. They do things so they can show other people and get a shake on the hand and a pat on the back. And they can say, look at this thing that I did, look at what I did, aren't I cool? Now, if I'm offending anybody here, let me tell you something, I have the right. Because I live in Davis, I'm a part of the problem. Look at what I'm doing right now. Look at me. Aren't I cool? I had to get away from Davis and go someplace where things of importance actually happen. So within 24 hours of seeing Leaving Las Vegas, I found myself with a week off of work, a packed bag, and I was headed south on I-5 toward Los Angeles. Now let me tell you something. If anybody here ever feels like a loser, if ever you feel like your life is pathetic and you're a big nobody, I got a cure for you. Get on I-5 and drive south and buy some gas. Because those little gas station oases that occur once every 200 miles or so, I've always wondered, the people who work there, where do they live? I don't care where they live, but it must be one fuck of a commute for a minimum wage job. So I'm driving down I-5 and I'm buying some gas and I'm thinking to the attendant, at least I'm not you. And then I drive down a whole lot further and I buy some more gas. I'm like, at least I'm not you. And I found myself in Los Angeles where I hooked up with my friend Greg. He was in pre-production for an upcoming Neil Diamond tour. So I went from feeling like a nobody in Davis to hanging out at a soundstage at a movie studio in Hollywood. Things were looking better. And Greg turned to me at one point and he said, so what brought you to Los Angeles in the first place? And I said, well, I was in Davis and I got really, really depressed and I had to do something, so I came down here. And he said, why were you depressed? And I said, well, because Nicolas Cage isn't my friend. And I explained it to him, and he understood it on some level, which is great, because I still don't understand it on any level. But he said, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to cheer you up. You drove all the way down here. I'm going to take you out of the town. We're going to go out in Los Angeles, and we're going to do the town right. I'm my treat. Everything is on me. We're going to do Los Angeles. So I said, great. So we got off of work, and we started out at a little bar in Hollywood where movie stars hang out. So I'm hanging out with movie stars, and we're having a Jim Beam with a Coke back, and I'm feeling relaxed, and I'm feeling happy. And at one point, Greg turned to me and said, how would you like to go to a strip club? I've never been to a strip club. I mean, I was once when I was 18 years old, and I was in Tijuana, but that's just what you do when you're 18 years old and you're in Tijuana. But I haven't been in a strip club ever since, and I've had no desire to go to a strip club. But for some reason, because me and the brain were in such a weird state of mind, I said, sure, let's go to a strip club. So we went to the Tropicana. We weren't really satisfied because the Tropicana isn't really a strip club. It's a place where women dance around in sexy underpants, and for $1 they'll dance on your lap, and for $100 you can roll around in the mud. But we wanted butt-ass naked women. This was our plan. So we drove around Hollywood and we finally found some place with a big sign outside. It said all nude all the time. And when we went inside, sure enough, it was all nude all the time. Now here's the funniest thing about going to a strip club. I think it is probably the most homosexual experience I've ever had in my life. Granted, the subject of your arousal is a naked woman, but the fact is, let's look at the fact. There's a bunch of men sitting around a table, and they're all drinking their $10 glasses of watered-down beer, and they're all looking at some naked woman, and they're all turning to each other and interacting. They're turning to the guy on the left, and they're saying, "How you doing?" "I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?" "I'm doing pretty good." Face facts, you know, I mean, why don't you just say it? "How's your erection?" "Fine." "How's your erection?" "Fine." It was like a big boner convention, and I never felt more gay in my life. But that was okay. I was willing to deal with it, you know, and so, but there was this one stripper. There was this one stripper in particular, and I think she took a liking to me. I know a lot of people probably think that. But I really think she took a liking to me because there was a guy next to me. He was like a little frat boy, probably a student at UCLA, and he threw down $10. So this woman came over and she shoved her naked crotch into his face, and that was great, whatever. And then she stopped, and she moved over to me and she shoved her naked crotch into my face. And I was thinking, "This is a very nice crotch." And they threw down another $10. And so she moved back over to him, and then she finished and she came back over to me. I hadn't thrown down any money. She did this back and forth, and $70 later, her song ended. I still hadn't thrown down any money. She left the stage, and I was intrigued. When she came out of the dressing room fully clothed, this little frat boy went over there and started hitting on her like he had a shot. But this woman blew him off with grace and with dignity and with tact. I was impressed. He left the club feeling like he had scored, and the woman never had to have anybody come over and intervene. I was impressed, and I wanted to go over and tell her that I thought she showed class. I thought she seemed very classy. Aside from the fact that she takes off clothes for a living, I thought she was classy. And then I got really depressed because my brain told me we couldn't do that. My brain was right. If we went over there and told her she was classy, she would think that we were hitting on her, but we wouldn't have been. And this is what depressed me so much, because on the one hand I have Nicolas Cage, this Academy Award-winning actor, this very successful guy. And if I walk into him on the streets, he's not going to give me the time of day. And then on the other hand, I have this slut, this stripper, this whore, this woman who has had to resort to taking off her clothes for a living. And if I go up and talk to her, she's not going to give me the time of day. Well, if I can't relate to these two extremes, what the hell am I supposed to do with the rest of the world? So I went home feeling more depressed than I was when I got there. And when I got home, I wrote this song. It's called Soda Cracker. It's called Soda Cracker for two reasons. One is because one time my friend Dave Anderson, who plays with me in the band Broken Thing, he got kind of drunk, and in the morning he was a little hungover. So in order to nurse him back to health and settle his stomach, we gave him 7-Up and soda crackers. And I kind of like that line, 7-Up and soda crackers. I like the way it rolls off the tongue. I thought, wouldn't it be great if when life gets you so depressed that all you want to do is puke, wouldn't it be great if you could just have a little 7-Up and soda crackers and feel just a little bit better? Second reason it's called 7-Up and soda, it's called Soda Crackers, because it was written in the vein of a band called Cracker. You know that band Cracker? So you know it's sort of cracker. Thank you very much. Strange, the things you like to do. I never thought a person could be quite as cool as you. And hey, though I said I'd take a chance, no decibel level could ever make me wanna dance again. Babe, put yourself in my shoes. Maybe then you'd understand why I feel like such a loser. But don't ever put yourself down. Leave that up to me, I've had experience. And don't you wonder what the president is doing now? Don't you wonder what he thinks? I've been under so much pressure now, I'm going crazy. No piano could ever make me wanna sing again. Fate, it's just a thing that we made up. Human beings can be so stupid, they actually believe that crap. And hey, if you ever fall in love, don't forget the little people who taught you how that would be enough. Me, I feel emotionally numb, vaguely existing, always looking out for something, anything, and hate. Hate is all around. Evolution keeps going backwards, and I find that kind of curious. And don't you wonder what I'm thinking now? Don't you want to know the truth? I've been under the weight of everyone who ever let me down. No right-wing asshole could ever make me wanna move. There's something beautiful in crying, a kind of sweetness to your salty tears. When I said I loved you, I was lying. But it would be so great if you were here. And don't you wonder what we're doing back here where we started? Don't it make you wanna puke? But thanks to 7-Up and soda crackers, we'll be alright. No number of one-night stands